Glamorgan Stuart Walters for the second time in the match and captain Mark Wallace were amongst the runs on the third day of the LV County Championship match with Essex at the SWALEC Stadium in Cardiff, a match which could be a nail-biter on the final day. The penultimate one began with Graham Napier looking to add more runs to his side's 112-run lead. Instead, he scored only 2 more before falling to the morning's third ball with an edge to slip, which gave Michael Hogan figures of 6 for 70, equalling his career best, also made for Western Australia against Tasmania in Hobart. Essex were all out for 345 for a first innings lead of 114, and that looked a good one when David Masters produced a peach to bowl Ben Wright with the second delivery of Glamorgan's second innings. So now the Welshmen were right up against it, although that didn't stop the next pair of Will, Bragg and Walters from playing their shots. Some were fortunate, while others used the middle of the bat, as these two at least proved that there were no demons in this pitch. That was important for a side batting third in this match, with much work to do to get back on top. Bragg again scored freely, something he's been doing all season. He made 42 from 50 balls. He was out with a total on 65 and was swiftly followed by Marcus North, who'd made only a couple when he too was bowled by the always accurate Masters, for whom this was wicket number 21 this season, and he's missed a game through injury. That dismissal left the home side on the ropes on 74 for 3, still 40 runs behind, but Walters again showed some good form. He made an effervescent 67 in the first innings, and although this particular one was not as attractive in terms of stroke play, it was no less valuable, especially coming from a man who'd really struggled for runs up until this contest. These were the only 2 boundaries in his 119-ball 50. Walters was now with Murray Goodwin, a man still searching for his first real meaningful contribution as a Glamorgan player. He came close to the defeat by Lancashire at Colwyn Bay, and now the situation was nicely set up for him to make his mark. These shots at least had his side moving ahead. The lead stood at 51 when, on 42, Goodwin tried to get out of the way of a ball from Rhys Topley that just carried on following him. It brushed the glove and Goodwin was gone. Jim Allenby didn't last long. Quickly into double figures, he became the third man to see his stumps disturbed by Masters, this time with a ball that nipped back sharply through the gate. One thing we didn't see too much in what was something like an old-fashioned day of county cricket was too many boundaries. Before he really settled in, Wallace threatened to take the 4 count up with a couple of nicely timed shots. He patiently added 50 more runs with Walters, who'd by now slowed down to a crawl as he approached his 100. All that work, he faced 234 balls in 5 hours of crease occupation, was undone just 2 short of his deserved ton. On a nervous 98, he went back to cut Tim Phillips' quicker ball, but nicked it behind. It took him some while to leave the crease. Still, no Glamorgan player has scored a ton this summer, in spite of the heavy roller. Walters had struck only 4 boundaries in that 234-ball stay, yet Graham Wagg was soon finding the fence at will when he arrived in the middle. An effervescent cricketer, he was bubbling as he took on the second new ball, making the most of its hardness. He picked his gaps, sometimes just wide of a fielder, as he looked to increase the tempo of the day a little before stumps were drawn. He would, however, still have been mindful that runs needed to be scored to get as far ahead of Essex as possible. By the close, Wallace had helped himself to a half-century off 90 balls, again with only 3 fours, and he wanted to make sure that he was still there for the final day. Thankfully for him, he was not disturbed by either Pigeon nor Masters. He ended the day on 61 with Wagg on 32, and they'd added 69 runs in 16 overs by the close to take their side into the final day on 303 for 6 with a lead of 189. It means that all 3 results are still very possible as we enter the last 3 sessions of a well-matched and intriguing contest.